Ike station is based off of. And it should have some science. Don't know if it has all the science. So let's see, some science. As I guess patch is just readjusting how this works. That's a lot of science per day. Science is full. So let's transmit. I guess we're going to run into the same issue here because I have similar charge packets. So this is apparently high band communication is the power sucker of our time. But fortunately, nothing little time acceleration can't forcibly bludgeon into oblivion. And this may be like some people say, why are you doing the time acceleration dance like this? My response is just, I could sit here and stare for the same amount of time as it would take to possibly catch up eventually. I have better technology for some of this stuff now, but here we go. Lots of science, lots of data, very successful. Camberta and Samty have been here for 2 years and have been a great tribute to our mission. So let's go ahead and go back to the Space Center. There's a lot of sciencing that I can add. But let's see if there's any other contracts that have come up here too. Alright, contract. Plant a flag on Minmus. No. Test launch escape system and flight over Kerbin. No. Extract ore from Minmus and deliver it to Kerbin. Interesting. I guess I could double up with that and that, but I'm just declining a lot of things. This is an additional crew member, which is decent. Perform gravimetric scans on Duna. That I can do. Alright. Because I think it is about time that we went to the Science Center here just to say, you know, we have 3,000 science that we can spend. There's some expensive things that we want to get. We want to get experimental tech. And we want to get specialized electronics so we can get experimental electronics. So let's go ahead and blam our science into that. Note that most of our science is coming from these different surface stations. And I look forward to modding in a future save the tech tree just so that there's a lot more meaningful science and stuff later on. So if you have any suggestions, by all means throw them my way. Thermoelectric generator would have been very nice to launch a ship to Elu with the first time around. But we'll make it happen eventually. By the way, my Duna science understanding right now is 36 out of 211. Some of these topics need to be further researched. In fact, if we look at Ike, 15 reports. Moon, 27, 50, and then 47. Very, very interesting. A little bit from Eve, none from Moho, none from Drez. We'll have a little bit from Jewel, and none from Elu. That is our science update for the day. Now let's go to the Rescuer 2 because that is our next mission. In fact, we can just go ahead and it's not going to make too much of a difference if we wait to launch or not. So let's go and fly it. Because the next big thing is going to be, can we aero capture around Duna? So here's this monstrosity. I don't know if this is going to be the most efficient thing in the world. If we zoom out a little bit, like I said, this is the kind of flight that has been driving me nuts. It's been throwing me bugs and making things so weird. I'm not even quite sure. It's actually trying to look like it actually orbited around Kerbin once to get up here. That would be really frustrating. If this actually already did an orbit around, that can't be right. That can't be right. That's probably right. Wow. There's no way. Well, regardless, we somehow have, for some reason, just the save of everything is forgetting the fact that this ship originated from Kerbin and instead is saying it came from over here and has about 100 days. Maybe I did like terribly miss the launch window the first time, and if I did, there's no reason that this should be matched orbits, so that is really bizarre. I said all the more reason to get to try and correct things from being in the right save or the wrong save. So here's Duna coming ever so closer. Our alarm clock is going to go ding 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 before too long. We are now past the point of orbit. This would actually be a beautiful Hoffman transfer. We started out over there, we're ending up over here pretty much. Not perfect, but better than I normally do. Alright, so we're going to get our encounter here before too long. And I think I do want to make kind of a few tweaks or final adjustments. We'll wait until we're in the sphere of influence. We have enough fuel. Alright, so 1 hour. And here we go. Right as we're about to encounter things. Now the most important part of this is that we are not, in fact, about to... Well, first off, we are about to make an encounter here. But one of the more important things is that we are not about to, say, run into Ike for once. So if we actually... I want to focus view on Ike, but I guess that's what it's going to make me do right now. Focus view on Duna, perhaps. That would be lovely. There we go. I said I want to do as equatorial of an orbit as I can, and I've done pretty good there. I think 23 is decent. If I can get myself further down, like a little bit more, like about 20. That's probably, I can't even read that. It's probably way too close. I don't want to go too far down. But if I slowly but surely use my RCS to adjust my ship, that's why one reason I'm looking forward just to getting this in orbit is because these kind of adjustments are getting really tiresome. Oh look, gravity scans from the poles of Duna. Well, that's fun. I need to get some science from Duna anyway, so why not try and take my rescue vessel up there. Oh wait, because it doesn't actually have science equipment on it. Shoot. Well, I guess it's another reason to come to Duna later, isn't it? I have some probes to launch. Some other things to do. May have to abandon some contracts here before too long, so let's just go ahead and remove the maneuver node, and we are just going to RCS burn to about 18, 17 or 18. There we go. Let's actually back it up to 18. And I hope that's enough. If it's not, then our relief mission is going to be very, very sad. So I guess what that means we need to do now is to try and adjust ourselves to a retrograde position, which I guess there's no great point in doing that until we get a lot closer to the planet. So here's our ship. There's Duna, the big red dots. There's my laptop once again, closing the chat window. That is not showing me a ton right now, but there's Duna going into the, coming into light. Orbital velocity is still fairly fast. Probably have one more. Oh, we don't have one more Ike revolution. Ike is actually just going to be chilling on the other side. Sweet. Ike can go screw itself. If you have any knowledge or recollection or any missions you've ever done to Duna, just know that Ike is the troll moon, and it will always try and screw up your missions like crazy. Alright, so how far away? 43 minutes, 40, 30, 20. Probably apt time to start trying to mid-course adjust. All I want to do is find my retrograde marker can sit on it. Duna has a light enough atmosphere to where I should be able to burn retrograde and be okay. All of my rockets are pointing in the same direction here even. That's not the way I want to tip. I said nav balls. I had never played a game with the nav ball before Kerbal Space Program, and I still haven't figured it out. Right. But we have been running pretty much on nuclear power. Oh wait, this actually... Does this service bay have science? No, it doesn't. Only batteries. That's alright, this station is equipped to host all the people. Now here's an interesting bit of anti-logic. I don't think we're controlling from the front view again, so let's try that real quick. Okay. We are okay, that's the retrograde marker, and I'm going crazy. So Duna in the not too distant distance. Jewel on the horizon after I can get some people home. Let's go ahead and accelerate a little bit closer. I'm going to need to fix a few things before long, like actually getting my retrograde marker correct. So we are starting to get a little bit into the dicey part of the atmosphere. We do need to start retracting these panels. Probably means we need to retract all the radiators. And we need to actually recall what our design philosophy was with this ship, which was to have the side with the front facing heat shield facing forward. That's supposed to be the heavier part of the ship. That's the part that's supposed to be going into the atmosphere. And I have not left myself very much time to fix that. Like I said, my one goal here is if I can just get to Ike, rescue some people. If I can just get here. This is a robot ship. There's nobody in the crew right now. But I definitely want to get the people off of Duna. So if I can do that, that'll be a big get. As there's actually a really nice view. So we do want to be facing forward here. That's the idea. So the worst thing that happens is that this crashes, we lose a lot of money. Because this is supposed to fulfill an orbital contract as well. That's why this is a mining vessel and not a science vessel. As bad of a mistake as that was. So let's see if we can actually have this pointing the right direction. Maybe I should have readjusted some of the stuff a little bit, but looks like my ship is nimble enough to where I can flip it around. But yeah, oh my god, 404 days. I did, in fact, miss my first encounter. Wow. Oh my god, that is embarrassing. I missed my encounter with Duna. That has to be it. There's no other reason. But hey, we're on stream, so that's good, right? At least we're coming into a good equatorial orbit. Everyone's been sitting around for a while. They're none the wiser. They're like, oh yeah, they'll send a mission to us eventually. They should have gotten here the first time. This is a good time to realize that's what that flight timer means. So 70,000 meters, we're about to be hitting the atmosphere. And I'm really hoping the center of mass is down here and not over here. Because this is a lot of empty stuff. With a little bit of fuel. But hopefully the overheat's not going to be too much of an issue. Hopefully this fuel isn't too much of an issue. Right now our periaps is, like I said, it's down to 18. That's really aggressive. But the idea of this ship is that it's supposed to be able to handle some of the stuff, but pretty soon we're going to be in actual atmosphere. Although they changed some of the parameters of it, and it is entirely possible that I could be flying this straight into a peak. Doesn't appear that I will be. But we're going to try not to let the break today. If we can avoid it. Already did a little bit of that once. Targa, right now I'm trying to skim at about 18,000 kilometers. Or, yeah, 18 kilometers, not 18,000 kilometers. That's a little different. This is a rough guess. It's deeper than I normally go, but I haven't done really any atmospheric reentries in 1.0.4 where they substantially changed some of this stuff. And the last Duna mission I did in this save was, well, the last Duna mission I did in this save was with the stock atmosphere mod, or I edited the config files for 1.0.1. So this is my first sort of 1.0 actual atmosphere entry. And I have no idea how this is going to go. So that's part of the fun. Right now we are now officially in the atmosphere, and I'm really hoping the ship doesn't flip back the other way. I'm banking on this side being the heavier part. There's one thing that I've had a lot of problems with so far. It is that, okay, we're getting some serious slowdown all of a sudden. Okay, we're about to be on fire. Very much on fire. And if this side is the heavier side, then my ship's going to get torn apart just by flipping itself around. So yeah, there's no great way to accelerate other than doing this, but it's a little embarrassing, first off, that I just absolutely missed my first encounter with Duna. Fortunately, I just got locked into an orbit with Duna instead of getting launched off. That somehow doesn't feel right. I feel like I didn't miss it the first time. Hey Tech, hope you're doing well tonight too. It's fun. We're going to Duna and hoping for the best. I am trying to do an error capture, and this is my first one in 0.4, so this could get ugly. I do technically have enough fuel probably to bail myself out if I have to. I usually, there's not a lot of in between for me with Duna. I usually either go in and totally whiff or go in and I have to just like fix myself. Well, thank you for following, Tech. That's cool. I do appreciate it. I do play a variety of games. I'm actually looking to start streaming Kerbal Space Program a little bit more. If only because it's nice and relaxing and it's not so much like shouting at other people. Not that I'm much of a shouter, but it's more me versus the environment, or me versus the vastness of space. And you can just kind of relax and say, well, I screwed that one up, as we're very possibly going to be having here. So look at all of these heat shields not having to do a whole lot of work because it is the atmosphere. I'm not super stoked about this design. I wasn't before. If only because these heat shields don't really like take care of the back as much as I'd like. Now Duna has a very thin atmosphere, so this isn't supposed to be much of a problem. You'll notice I don't actually have heat shielding on the thing that's supposed to be landing and rescuing my derelict crew from Duna at all. So that's always very exciting. Like I said, the one downside is that I have so much Kraken trauma with the Kerbal Space Program Evolved that I don't really feel like doing physical time acceleration just to make this go faster. So we all get to sit together. It is entirely possible the stream may be lagging. It is entirely possible that the game is going slow. I hope it's not the stream lagging. Because if the stream's been lagging this whole time, that would have been information I would have liked to have known earlier. Because I did try and adjust settings a little bit to make this work. So if you just want to tell, well, I'll type a message in real quick. Re-entry, or was it already lagging? And all I asked in chat was, did it start lagging upon re-entry, or was it already lagging? Yeah, I don't have Nightbot or anything set up right now. Honestly, it's something where okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. The game is going to lag really hard. I don't know. Tech, have you played much Kerbal Space Program? Because like I said, I do some ship designs that are just kind of a little bigger than they need to be, is the nice way to put it. And things like this, there's a lot of parts, and when there's a lot of parts and there's a lot of physics interaction. Cool, I'll make sure to ask you probably sometime after the stream. I can send you a message, or you can send me a message as well. Because yeah, Nightbot, things like that, those are the kind of Twitch channel maintenance things that I need to know, but really haven't looked into very much yet. But yeah, you know, that's the good news. At least it's not the stream lagging, it's just the game. Alright, so if I do a little bit of physical time acceleration, we'll see. But we have a lot of atmosphere to dig into. And from the looks of it, I'm actually pretty surprised. That is, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of escape that I gotta work out of, but this is moving a lot more aggressively than it usually does. Yeah, when I edit my YouTube stuff for this, I do this at like 4 times speed, at least. But this is what it looks like in real time. So there's Kerbal Space Program, also a game where you do have to sit sometimes and just wait. So we're at 21 clicks, 22 clicks. No explosions. The atmosphere's thin enough that there shouldn't be much in the way of explosions. Especially since we already did our test landing on Kerbin, and something that could survive the atmosphere on Kerbin without heat shields also survive the atmosphere there. So it's all possibly good news. Still though, here's the thing. I'll have to check my all the stuff I flew and everything before. The reason that I have trouble with that 404 day flight time is that I launched this vessel to rescue about the same time as I sent my original Duna mission back home. And it doesn't make sense to me that, yeah, I have a YouTube, Asher Games was there as well. I think I switched my name like about 2 months ago, from Way to Fail Self. And I think there's still a few lingering things that I haven't necessarily fixed, but yeah. YouTube is something I have. I've been kind of behind the curve on streaming a little bit. Part of it's scheduling issues, part of it is kiddo issues, especially in the past year where it's like, oh, every night almost there's a time and a place just to be awake, or someone's sick, or someone's tired, or there's crying on the monitor. But yeah, let me just see YouTube. Sure, games. So it's one of those things where had the Twitch thing going for a while, and I guess I've been a bit more of a generalist. I know a lot of people do Twitch, just kind of do one game or one thing, or they play CSGO and open packs and gamble, because that's apparently a thing now. Yeah. Not really my cup of tea. My cup of tea is apparently designing ships that are supposed to be symmetrical, and then they tip like this, which makes sense, because as you will see if you investigate on the YouTubes as well, this ship had a massive problem pointing and flying straight, and for some reason there's like one whole side of it that is just very, very off balance. Yeah, you can post a link. That is fine. If it's viruses, I'll be sad. But yeah, go ahead. So let's see how... Okay, we're doing better on our escape. I don't know if we're going to make it all the way out. So yeah, at least the asymmetry in this design is real. Both of these ships flying together, when they flew separately, they flew straight. For some reason, when I dock them, they do something bonkers like this. Okay, I'll check out nightbot.tv. I made everything symmetrical, maybe because I docked them and they're not entirely symmetrical. Like, you can see the fires right here. But honestly, like, I would fire prograde and it would just go over to the right. And it would just be nuts. How the heck did I get this ship off of Kerbin? That is a very good question. And the answer is multiple launches. I launched... Well, there's two parts for this ship. There's the orbital station part, which ends right at the docking ports right here. Everything's on fire, so it should be easier to see. Everything to the left, it was one launch. Everything to the right, the mining / rescue lander vehicle, is 2 launches, and pretty much between both of them, you dock them in space, and then you go. And that's what I was saying before. When I had them separately in space, they flew straight just fine. And maybe all will become revealed in due time for what exactly is balanced and what exactly is not so balanced. But we are still going into the atmosphere right now. And you know what? I'm actually feeling pretty good about this air break. Last time I came to Duna, it was, like I said, it was not a stock atmosphere. Technically, it was the 1.0.0 atmosphere, which is to say practically none. And I think I went in with really, really deep and still didn't catch. But part of that was because I was going a lot faster. I had a much cleaner transfer here. Although I swear I've been in flight for 404 days, but it's robots flying this, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's not, trust me, it's not your computer that's lagging. It is mine. It is most certainly mine. I can try physical time acceleration. It's probably not going to do a lot of good. No, it's just, everything is technically going faster. And look at that, we are actually going to have a successful air capture. Now we have to, okay, we're actually going up too again. So just a little dip into the atmosphere. From the looks of it, though, this is going to go perfect-ish. Famous last words, but as long as this thing gets beyond our periapsis, yes, there we go. Our periapsis is a disaster, and there's always Ike that we're going to have to contend with, because that's the troll moon. But we do actually have a successful aero brake maneuver without our ship actually exploding. What a great day. So I guess the question once again is, do I try and relieve the Duna crew first, or do I try and relieve the Ike crew first? Jebediah's on Ike, so that's where my bias is just a little bit. But the Duna landing station that's down there is actually on its side and broken, so they're worse for wear. Plus the Ike landing station is still producing a crap load of science. Yeah, you don't want to go, apparently you don't want to go much lower than 18K, plus we're not exactly out of the atmosphere yet. This still may be going in there. But for, oh, okay, there's Troll Ike. There's Ike being Ike. We should be okay, but this is a little nasty. Yeah, what it boils down to is if you're doing an orbital transfer, let me make sure that I'm okay with like everything not exploding before I explain this. Let's see. If you're doing an orbital transfer from Kerbin to, let's say, Joule, you want to try and meet up at a point where like your point of entry for like Joule is right here, right around. So you want to make it to where you fly here and Joule ends up around there. So you want to meet it on the opposite side of the sun. You do that, you don't have to be as aggressive with your error capture or anything. You can go like the 18K for what I did for Duna. First time I went to Duna. If this is where I launched from Kerbin, I ended up getting a Duna right here. Don't ask me why, I just did. That's when I was doing napkin math and I hadn't installed a Kerbal alarm clock. I was going into the atmosphere a lot faster than I otherwise needed to, as we were actually no longer on fire and we're no longer having hardware acceleration issues, and the radiators here are now pointless. So that's fun. I'm going to be streaming for at least a little while. I mean, I got this ship all the way to Duna. I feel like I ought to at least land it on something. So that's going to be a start. Like I said, I got to test the mining on this. I got to collect some surface signs from places. All in all, just fun old times. Like I said, I could try and land on Duna first. Something tells me I should probably try landing on Ike first instead. But the important thing is, if we zoom back in, when I said that I'm trying, oh good, we were actually within Ike's orbit. That's actually perfect for what we're trying to do. You do not want to, you want to be within Ike's orbit if you can, is pretty much the lesson here. Because Ike orbits a lot closer, like a lot closer than the moon does to Kerbin. So it has a lot of gravitational influence. Let's go ahead and just do our retrograde like, nope, nope, nope. Not hitting the right buttons today. You do not want to warp. Okay, this is where suddenly my buttons are not cooperating with me. Maneuver. Prograde. There we go. We'll do a safe periapsis of like 80,000 meters, 90,000, 100,000 is fine. Oh yeah, action groups. You know what's great about action groups is that I used to use them all the time, and then I took like a year break from Kerbal Space Program pretty much. Like, and then it's funny, I just completely forgot. Like, I had a lathe lander system, tons of jetpacks and everything. It would not have survived if I didn't do action groups to launch things at certain points. Yeah, all these radiators, and I realized it as soon as I launched it too. It was like, oh gee, sweet Jesus, I need to I should have action grouped all these things. What's really great about these radiators is that they proved completely unnecessary. Like, my ablative shielding took 25, 11, 25, 25, 25. No, what? Oh, that's right, it wasn't symmetrical in there, so even less. So radiators were completely unnecessary. And that, as we know, is fun. Alright. So I do have a warp to apoapsis in 2 hours. And I do have a flyby of Joule that could possibly be happening during the course of this mission. In fact, I probably should go ahead and add my next window from Duna to Kerbin. 1 year, 73 days. Looks good. So there's another thing before the ELU mission, which I have all it is just a probe that I'm optimistic about landing, but at least determined to try and put it into orbit. Because there's a lot of things I haven't done in Kerbal Space Program. You know, it's entirely possible that nuclear engines overheat now if you don't use radiators. I built a similarly designed ship before that, I'll show it to you here in just a second. It had ablative shielding on the front, nuclear engines, no radiators, because radiators did not exist in the game yet. And yeah, I'll switch to that because it's currently a derelict ship on its way to Joule. Well, if you burn your nukes at max, yes, they will overheat the crap out of things. But if you don't burn your nukes at max, heating isn't necessarily an issue. So it's not 100% true. what you're saying. But like I missed a maneuver node, and then while leaving Kerbin, and then instead of just stopping, I was already on my way out, like out of orbit. So I just said to myself, you know what, we are going to just fly. Alright, so there's our actual time acceleration. And the end result was that I burned almost all my nuclear fuel, and I burned it as hard as possible just to try and get an encounter with Jool. And I pretty much destroyed my ship, as you will see in just a minute. So let me just get this in orbit real quick. Stable orbit. 80,000. That's Duna. Let's cut this one off. There we go. We are in orbit. Hooray. So if we go ahead and go back to things out in space. Like there's the Elu ship. There's the Jool station that's actually on its way to Jool. This is what used to happen when you don't have radiators. You'll notice this design's very familiar. This is also an unmanned ship. And this is just from launching out of the atmosphere. Ablator 99.5, 98, 87, 98, or 84, 99, 10. And then look at the middle one, 1741, or 1741. And this is all just because I was hoping to enter Jool's atmosphere with this punch unit up front, but all the heat transferred from here over to here. Solar panels used to act as kind of radiators. They still can radiate heat a little bit, but the heat just went up here and it ate the ablator. So that's exactly what happened to that ship. It's very sad. And unfortunately, this is supposed to be a first kind of shot call to get something in orbit around Jool so that when I arrive, there's already something there. Nope, not happening now. All this is going to be is just a flyby, and that is it. As absolutely, as you can see here, absolutely no fuel left. And no ore, no way to process it, nothing like that. So let's go back to the Space Center. Always interested to see if there's new missions available. Oh, science data from the surface of the moon. I have so many active missions right now. Exploring Gilly, exploring Jool, extracting ore from Ike, which is something I can actually do. I don't think I have to do that all in one go at least. Yeah, so build an orbital station around Duna. Then I have to have 1,000 units of ore in the station. Otherwise, we already have that contract complete. So Rescuer 2. Like I said, it is most responsible for me to at least put an attempt to circularize my orbit. But the only requirements we are not meeting are stability for 10 seconds and 1,000 units of ore. Otherwise, we're already there. So that's a positive. But if I at least circularize my orbit, it makes things a little easier. On the other hand, if I at least, because Ike's going to be going around here in a circle again. Can I actually get an Ike encounter? Yeah. Oh, wow. I can get a pretty good one. So I think we're just going to go for this now, to be honest. Oh, I'm so glad, Reg, that I've been able to help you out. And that's one of the... If there's one thing that's disappointed me a little bit, it's that I have more tutorials and then I haven't put them up yet because I wasn't very happy with how they turned out and I hadn't quite gotten around to putting them back together. So I appreciate the kind words, and if there's anything that you ever want me to put up, like make a tutorial for, feel free to leave a comment or request or anything you may want to know. And I'm happy to help. Career mode, tutorials, all that. Like I said, I try and explain as I go. But if you ever want me to make kind of a dedicated video, by all means, just ask. Now, please tell me there's a probe core for this too. There should be. Let's undock. We now have 2 separate ships. 2 ships enter, 1 ship leaves. So we are going to need some solar panels, which of course, as you all well know by now, are not actually on action groups. And I'm a little concerned about my ability to embarrass myself on camera, because if there's a place I'm terrible at landing on, it's Ike. Ike has a lot of like rolling hills and stuff. Okay, main problem is getting big crafts into space and the proper way to build them for space travel. So in other words, a tutorial for how to make big things fly. I think that's something that is a worthwhile thing to know. Alright. So this is, once again, all the fun things happen on the dark side of the planet here. But since we do have a pretty good encounter with Ike lined up, all we need to do here is just accelerate just a little bit. What is our periapsis going to look like? Not awesome. What if I do it like this? Just a little bit closer. And no. There's not a great way to do this. But you know what, at least if we do this, we get a little bit of an encounter. So that's plus. All right, 30,000, 40,000. Here's the one downside, is that if I screw this up to like 20,000, then we run into other host of issues. Like, this doesn't take a lot of energy to go here. Oh, you're watching this in 3D? I didn't even know it was broadcasting in 3D. Oh, sorry you didn't have luck. I'll tell you, there's a lot of disaster for my Duna build that, well, I showed some of the explosions. I'll put it that way. There were many explosions to be had. Alright, so this is a very finicky maneuver node because it's only 1.6 meters per second. So it's nice to know that this ship is already tantalizingly close to an Ike encounter, which makes me a little bit concerned for its well-being. In fact, I may just bring the apoapsis down just a little bit once I make this maneuver. Oh, okay. Said I'm like the guy at the beginning of Mallrats. When you show me 3D stuff, it's like either it hurts my eyes or I don't know what everyone else is seeing. Oh, it's a boat. Go bleep yourself. Alright. So if I just... First off, it would probably help if I used action groups to do things like actually activate the engines. 1, 2, 3... Did I not put fuel lines on this? That's going to be hilarious if I didn't put fuel lines on this. Okay. I had not put fuel lines on this. Well... Oh, I did. There's a fuel line. I put 1 fuel line for 4. Well, that complicates things. The good news is that ore should magically transfer from over here to the rest of the ship, but that's why building can be fun. Alright, well, we're going to use all this fuel as best we can, and then we should be able to make do with the poodle. The downside is that this means I probably can't rescue the crew off... Well, I might be able to rescue the crew off of that other planet that we're orbiting right now, Duna, but that is a real pisser. I didn't design... And you think that I know what I'm doing designing ships? You are very kind. Whoop. See, already missed it. Alright, 3,000. then what do we need from this periapsis? And it's like there's no turning back either. All right, so 70,000, and then if we do this maneuver right around here, should be able to bring this in. Yeah, that's not really what I wanted. We'll figure it out anyway, right? We slow down a little bit here, 50,000. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. We'll have to play a little bit around it. Yeah, it wouldn't be me playing Kerbal Space Program without some things not quite living up to expectations. Or I guess maybe that's part of the expectation, is that it's doing exactly that. It's living up to it. All right. Well, I guess that maneuver node's there. Wait, what did I say I was going to do? Nope, not that. Well, now that we've discovered a design flaw, and our poor derelict crew on Duna is going to have to be stuck on Duna for a little bit. It's going to be really hilarious if I didn't add parachutes either. Okay, what do we got to do here? Since it only takes 1.6 meters per second of acceleration to approach an encounter with Ike, you see how much farther that is? That's not very far. I barely got my orbit within the sphere of influence. I just want to make sure that there's not going to be a future issue. Yeah, and I'm not using something like Kerbal Attachment System where I can just add parts. Now I could edit the save and possibly add the parts in, but I don't quite have those skills. So switch to... So rescuing mission is not so rescuey today. Alright. Ike, you beautiful hilly monstrosity. Let's see what you got. Good news is that, you know what, we've actually successfully made 2 launches to the same planet. That is something worthy of commendation. So there's Ike. We're going to be rotating around the correct side of it, barely. And I'm so used to looking at things in map view. Here's the actual view of Ike with the beautiful galaxy skybox from the Interstellar mod. Ike is about as easy to land on as the moon from a gravitational concept. Ike is a pain in the ass to land on insofar as the terrain. The terrain is a nightmare. The terrain is full of steep slopes, hills, other things. So look at this beautiful arc. This is what you want. Let's see. This is like the kind of fuel efficient encounter you really want to make this happen. Only 15 meters per second to get ourselves in just a little bit. So we missed our node, and it doesn't really matter because now we're in orbit. And so we're just going to bring ourselves in just a little bit. And technically, and I had to get schooled on this, the more efficient fuel thing to do is not to just try and bring your periapsis down here. It's to actually go up here, bring it down hard on one side, and then loop around. Now we're going to have to circularize anyway, because I have to wait for the correct side to land on Ike. And for those of you that do not know, Ike and Duna are tidally locked. So the same side of Ike is always facing Duna. That's one of my strategies for landing the station where I did, because I wanted to make sure I landed somewhere that had a view of Duna, because what's the point of landing on a moon if you can't see the planet you land on? Same relationship I had with landing anything on a frickin' whatchamacallit, anything around Joule. So we're just gonna do a quick maneuver here. Missed my mark again, but it's fuzzy marks right now. We're not going for super specific New Horizons anything. Oh, New Horizons was just one gravity sense. The thing that tried to harpoon the comet, which I've lose my street cred because I don't remember what it's called right now. Yeah, that one has like insane course, like just stuff that it had to do. Like it did multiple gravity assists around Earth. It did, I think it did at least one around Venus and at least one, no, probably not Venus. but at least one around Jupiter, at least one around Mars. It's ridiculous what people can do in real life with pork chop plots, and I'm just here with one fuel line in Kerbal Space Program. Alright, so it's going to be very important that I cut off those engines once I start refueling. In fact, it may be more important for me to deactivate. Can I deactivate this fuel line right now? Oh, we don't. Because one thing I could potentially run into is these ships just not being right there. Though the good news is that you can alt-right click and transfer fuel that way. So I'm not totally like screwed. It's just I'm going to have to be very careful. I have to watch my fuel very closely. Alright, so I think I have this pointing backwards. We'll see. In fact, I'm fairly certain I have it pointing backwards. So we were currently above that, and all we're doing now is just playing in the orbit. And this is why I'm saying the Joule drone station may have its encounter first, but Joule encounters take a while. Yeah, I'm facing the wrong way. So here we go. Oh, I had it right. See, now I'm just overthinking it. Because what you want to do is you want to get down to the periapsis. This is where it's getting late. This is probably why I'm probably going to stop after I land on Ike and get to a Jebediah, or at least crash trying. Because what I was thinking in my mind I want to do is that you want to get down to the periapsis and then slowly accelerate on each pass, because you have no atmosphere to stop you at Ike. So as you go around and around in a circle, and see, we're just buying time because we're going to have to pass around Ike a few more times anyway. See, I missed it. We're not being as efficient as we could be. But every time, just burn a little. How are we doing on fuel? Decent. Okay, so a little bit further, it's going to be a good time acceleration catch. We've only been out for 3 days. So there's periapsis again. Most fuel efficient thing to do is get right before the periapsis. Burn a little more. This is apparently what they did on the moon mission, so if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me, right? So every time you get to the periapsis, just burn a little more. In fact, I kind of missed the periapsis there for some reason. So is this the ship? You know, that would explain something. That would give me some answer as to why and I apologize for the cough, if things weren't flying in sync. Oh, that's not what I want. And this would be why, possibly, because of one little ass fuel line. That would be funny to me, really funny. But if you want to know, it's like, obviously something is up if your ship is not going all the correct direction it's supposed to. But that's going to add to the challenge of landing this rescue vessel, is that it actually doesn't fly straight. So we found the problem. And it does have enough parachutes to land on the surface of Duna. But that's not really our concern today. Our concern is, can this actually maintain stability, kicking in the right direction? Because unfortunately we do have one fuel line. And it could just behoove me to go with only the Poodle if the LV909s are just going to cause that much balance issues. So here's another. Let's just test and see. We're going to SAS right here. are we floating off at all? Not right here. Oh, we do have a circular orbit, which is pretty cute. Next question is, what does our plane change look like? If this is our target, do we have an ascending and descending node? Not really. That's unfortunate. Well, we'll do this. Whoop. I gotta go a little higher. There we go. That's what we like to see. So just going for one more landing. And our node's in 30 minutes. Beautiful. If we can keep it balanced. Which is not always a guarantee. Look, we're pointing down, Ma. So this is gonna be fun to work with on the landing, where I'm gonna have to be constantly manually switching fuel here. But hey, at least one of the mysteries of why things weren't working in some of my videos have been a little bit, not solved, but answered. So this is only 31 meters per second. Let's take it nice and slow. Yep. As I feared. That lack of balance. Alright. I guess we can go ahead and put these on. Probably the biggest downside is just that I want the fuel to work. I really do. And these things should all be firing equally. So that's fun. Alright. Real showtime for real. This was my Ike landing station location. It was not the best location, but it was the location I chose. Now I could just try and do things to be a little cute. We'll see how this goes. Because Ike rotates once every 3 days, just like Duna. So that shouldn't put us too far over. And the other thing about Ike is that if I can land once, I should be able to land multiple times because I can refuel. Now I haven't done any like scans of the surface or anything, so I can't say for certain how that's going to work out. But I just accidentally got rid of my maneuver node. That's amateur hour. But we'll see. Will the rescue mission happen, or will we not be having a rescue today? If I land reasonably close to the Ike station, my 2 crew members can hoof it. Alright. So let's get this down. See, right now this burn is working because my fuel is balanced. It's the later stuff that we need to be concerned with. Like, we don't have drift yet. Now we're getting some drift. Now we're getting a little more drift. Alright. That puts us reasonably close. So, more manual fuel adjustments. Because that's what you came to see, clicking the alt-right clicks. Not everybody knows you can do this in Kerbal Space Program. But it is a thing. And it's been in there for a very long time. Alright, I think we're balanced. So, Jeb, what's shaking? Now, my orbital speed is still pretty low. There's a beautiful shot of Duna. up there in the blaring sunlight. Let's get the alarm clock out of here. As much as I want to take a screenshot, that usually turns into bad news, but we'll do it anyway. So we actually do not have cockpit view right now because I have no crew. That's actually going to hinder me more than you might think. I kind of rely on the altimeter that's in the cockpit to do a lot of my landings. So we're just going to have to hope the Robros know what they're doing. So there is one landing. I landed on the other side of a ridge. We're going to see if we can make this close enough. There we go. I got the stream in my sights. So there's Duna up there. 20,000. And counting. Like I said, the difficulty with landing on Ike is that it is deceptively slopey. And we're going to have to start slowing down here a little bit. Not too much too soon, but I want to have another chance to rebalance my fuel here before long. So at about 15,000 meters probably as I kick my printers under my feet, because that's a smart place to put a printer. 300 meters per second. We're not quite at Mooner speeds, but it's not the best. So 17, 16, 16. Hope y'all are still there in chat and I didn't get automatically kicked off, because that'll be a little sad. But here we go. Fuel balance issues might be worked out. Maybe. Okay, so there's the drift starting. There's the drift going really hard. Taking notes. Yeah, the notes are, unfortunately, try not to do this. Okay. All right, click. Really? That's how much fuel you sucker takes? Wow, okay. We're gonna try something a little drastic here. No, I don't think I have time for something a little drastic. I think I have time for... We've got to really slow this down. Because right now, we're about 14-ish kilometers away. But we are still fairly close to the surface. So that makes things a little tough. Said it won't take me too long to actually get there once I get there. But some of this landing stuff, like I said, sometimes you've just got to shove it this direction and hope that there's enough fuel here. Said there's a lot of slopes. I'm gonna be landing on a slope. About 10 kilometers out, they'll have to deal. 30 something meters per second. That should give us ample time. All right. Not great, but it's what we have to deal with. It's like landing on the moon. There's no atmosphere to save you. I say, what's the worst that happens? This explodes and they get to wait on Duna a little longer. Unfortunately, I am not doing... Oh boy. That's my first problem. Left it on target mode. When you're landing, you always want to have it on the surface. Always, every time. Fortunately, we may be landing perfectly on this ridge, because this is looking a lot flatter than where I've had to land before. Alright. Gravity coming into play. Surface is getting really close. Other difficult part of Ike is that shadows tend not to cast on the dark parts. So we just get to kind of guess. Let's see. No shadows. Now we're getting that drift at just the wrong time. I still think we're going to be okay. If I lose a landing gear, I'll be a little pissed, but... Alright, touchdown very slow. Alright, there we go. Thank you, scatter dust effects. And I actually landed on a flat part of Ike. And look at those slopes. It's like, oh, it's almost the Windows XP of Ike. Almost. But the important thing is that is a landing. Amazingly. So what do we do now? Obviously, we deploy the drills. And we start mining that sweet, sweet ore. Because one of our contracts is to get ore here. So start the harvester. Now my first harvester units didn't have these big old solar panels here. This one does. I probably don't need this many, but it's going to take quite a bit of time to actually get ore. I have a bunch of electric charge, but it looks like I'm still going to push through it. So that's okay. So that's really interesting. 4 giant solar panels. Still not enough to run 2 drills on Duna. Good to know, but we do have ore slowly coming in. This is real-time adjustment. So we are going to be taking ore back. And it's going to take, if you can't tell, multiple runs of this vessel to make it work. But I gotta make fuel first. So, more important thing, we're not too far. Here's this thing. Has a little bit of science left. Let Chat Hat finish it. Jeb, you wanna go for a walk? Of course you do. We'll let our friend Chad Hat get the remainder of the stuff here. Right now, we're going to take a little bit of a hike. And while we're here, let's go ahead and take an EVA report. And let's go ahead and take a surface sample, just in case we, for some reason, don't have those. And let's... Do I have the RCS on? There we go. We're going to fly up here. Thank you for the congratulations. No, it's very nice that I instinctively kept reaching for F5 and then remembered, wait, there's not crew on there. All I'm losing is time. So, and once again, with Jebediah and stuff like that, I guess it doesn't really matter too much. Because, excuse me. So, EVA report as well. Now, I don't want to run him into the ground too hard here. Let's go ahead and turn on the lights as well. I think he has about 600 delta V worth of acceleration here. So just a little bit of flying, and then maybe, just maybe, we can have somebody going to the right place. This is the dark part of Ike. Not unlike the top of the moon, which is also dark and spooky scary. And all I'm doing is accelerating. I'm doing a little bit of forward acceleration. I don't want to be too aggressive because when I hit the ground, I don't want him to turn into a puff. I have been known to kill some of my Kerbals doing that. Not to name names of people that didn't respawn. But yes, most of this is actually going to be a climb up the ridge. So see, there's Jeb. You gotta go up. Up, up, up. That's not up. That's up. I mean, he can hoof it a little bit. But if we can use Ike's gravity to our advantage, why not? As we still have plenty of EVA propellant. So just kind of a nice capstone. Once again, this is something that Jeb's been waiting for a good time, good long while for his rescue vessel. Why not have it come so late? Or what's just a little bit more waiting? What's flying up a mountainside in the grand scheme of things? Plus he gets to plant a flag. Plus I just had a big speck appear on my screen. I was like, is that a pixel? No, it's a bug. That's fun. Whew. Alright. So it is a bit late for me, so I'm probably going to have to call this a stream once I do happen to shepherd. See, I'm not even talking right anymore. Once I shepherd Jeb, either smashing into the surface of Ike or actually putting him into the vessel. One way or another, we're going to have a good time. I'll just make that a little brighter. Alright, so how are we doing on monopropellant? Still good. Still floating ever so gracefully over the surface. And I guess considering the scale of planets and stuff, landing within 10 kilometers is not bad at all. You can make a walk 10 kilometers up a mountain pretty well. Right. So 2.5 and counting. It's like docking. Just had a weird jump there. Must have hit a different biome or something. So 2 kilometers. Rocks going ever so slowly, like scrolling credits. Ike, not the most interesting of planet surfaces. That would go to places that I haven't visited, and interestingly enough, places that had bugged surfaces in the beta that are still bugged, where sometimes you think there's land and places to land on, and really it's not. So there I am, perfectly landed on top of the ridge, kind of what I guess I was hoping to do with this one. Let's actually slow it down a little bit. So I got plenty of propellants. Just a few hundred meters. Alright. I'm really going to have to check back in the video and see if I somehow missed my first orbital window with this refueler, because there's really no way it should have matched orbits with Duna almost perfectly without my interaction. Or shepherding stewardship, and there we go. I've killed most of my forward momentum, so now if I land on the ground I shouldn't bounce ragdoll too far. But yeah, once again, this is Asher. Thank you for those of you who came in, stuck around, popped your head in for just a minute, or just viewing this on YouTube later, or Twitch as a VOD later. Kerbal Space Program, it is fun. Check it out. I'll be doing some more complicated missions. Like I said, tonight has been some cleanup work, in part because I have so many missions that are just like taking up and making weird things happen to my save and my game, that I kind of just need to, for whatever reason, go back, get some of these things out of the sky so I can do more complicated things in just one go. And my next target is going to be sending a bunch of stuff to Jewel. But I got to clean up some other stuff first. That means all the mess that I left at Eve. That means a lot of the stuff around Duna. And it starts with getting my crew back. So that is a big step. And here we are. Oh, only a little skid. In fact, he thinks it's kind of fun. Right? There we go. Perfect. So, Jeb. What do you have to say for yourself? Plant that flag. I think I know exactly what Jeb has to say. His first observation is probably rescue get. Wow, tech has advanced a lot since I last saw you. That's true. I didn't have nuclear engines when I went to Duna the first time. I don't think. Maybe I did. I can't remember now. But the important thing is that I didn't have these big-ass solar panels. Yeah. I think I did actually have nukes. That's a little disingenuous of me. First time I went to Duna, I didn't have nukes. First time I went to Duna, I didn't know about things like actually aerobraking. So, that's a thing. Alright, board. And let's see if there's actually a different... Yeah, let's EVA you real quick. So I just want to see if this is a different biome or not. I don't think it is. Ike's Midlands, keep the data. I don't think I may or may not have an antenna on this. If I don't, it's because I intend to hook this back up with somebody else later. But we'll take another surface sample just to make sure we're not missing out on stuff. Nice thing is, like, the game will tell you, oh, there's no ladder. Well, that's part of the fun, is that there's no ladder. Because you don't need a ladder, because this is how you jump. And then you can EVA pack wherever. Send me to a place like Eve where you do actually need it. Of course, the moment I touch my ship, that happens. It's like, oh. Oh, good, you made it back into your ship and now you have a severe head injury. End of video. SAS disengaged. What? Oh, insufficient power. Okay. Well, that's fun. We knew that was coming, though. Because the mining things are going to be a bit too much. Alright, so we are actually in a different biome. Good to know. So we only need to be running one drill at a time. Which means we may actually have enough power. Insufficient power yet again. We'll figure that out at another point. If it's going to be anything like on the moon, where it takes forever, because I could just be in a dry spot for ore. I don't think I added anything on here to let me scan it. Pretty sure I didn't, because I was just trying to get my crew home with this. Anything that refuels is just a bonus. But that's something that you can take care of later. I can show that another time, and I will be happy to make a video about how to get big things into orbit and make them fly. Something that, while I'm not always elegant or the best at it, I do have plenty of experience with. So hopefully I can be of some help. But thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Let me do my little bleep. That's it for now. I will see you all next time in the future, all that jazz. There'll be an episode of this series posted tomorrow that is before the timeline for this one. So I'm going to actually click on the render button for that once I turn off this broadcast. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Take care.